I'm Ron Hull. In 1959, we started the Nebraska Videotape Heritage Library. During the past 50 years, we've saved in our archives hundreds of programs featuring people who have played major roles in the history of Nebraska. Mari Sandoz literally willed herself to become one of Nebraska's greatest writers. With a limited education, great determination, she devoted her life to writing about the Native Americans, the ranchers, the farmers, the pioneers, all the courageous people who settled the High Plains country. Now, the first time I produced a program with Mari Sandoz, it was 1959. She was seated in the studio, ready to go on, when she said, "I would rather face a rattlesnake than that camera." Well, she meant it, but her personality and strength of character came through, as you'll see in this interview, which we recorded in 1961. She's speaking with Rita Shaw.
I like to think that the beginning was this little girl who sat on the gate post, and she'd rather read than eat. Isn't this how your writing all began?
Oh, yes. I'd rather read than eat. I'd rather read than eat now. But that gatepost was a nice, big, old, heavy one. It was broad on top and flat, and people went by. The world went by, you know, cowboys, Indians, and the wind and the birds, and the dishes were behind me in the house.
You worked hard, didn't you, when you were a child?
Oh, every pioneer child works hard because the mother always has a lot to do, and the dishes and the children and the making the beds and peeling the potatoes and gathering the peas for dinner. That's part of the work.
You weren't allowed to write or read, were you, in a literary sense?
Well, the Sandozes were not supposed to read fiction. That was for the hired girl and the hired man. The fact that we had neither hired girl or hired man made no difference. You still didn't read fiction. But, you know, an obstacle's good for a child.
Yes, I know, and you had to hide all these books and read by candlelight. But the happiest time that I've just been reading about you all week, and the happiest time seems to me the time you were in Lincoln, when you didn't have any money, and you called it your Greenwich Village time.
It was a nice time because I had just enough to pay that $8 a month room, and if I got too far behind, the landlady would sort of overlook it for a month or two. And there were an awful lot of other creative young people around, music and several poets and short story writers. And we did all the usual things. We carried the American Mercury around under our arm, you know, and all that kind of thing. And we sneaked Ulysses and read Ulysses and things of that kind.
And you finally gave up your job, didn't you, and decided you just had to write? And
well, every time I'd get $50 in the bank, I'd quit any job I had, you see, and write a while. Because I was always under the impression that while I used up that $50, if I nursed it a couple of months, I would certainly sell a short story. But I didn't always.
Do you write every day at the same time?
Well, sometimes for months I do nothing but research. But while I'm researching, there's whole sections of it, you see, that sort of write themselves. So I will write an episode then, you see, and it'll go into the files, and this will be accumulated. And for a book that I may not write for 10 years, you see. It was a wonderful opportunity to use a whole lot of stories that have all accumulated, stories that were meant to astonish and to shock and to fool people, and some of them they were just told to amuse, you know.
This is part of your philosophy of writing, isn't it? That you should write the truth, whether it shocks or...
Oh, definitely, yes. Yes, you have no right to falsify life, ever. No, never. No, that I think that's the cardinal sin of the writer. And that's the thing that you cannot face yourself afterward, I don't think.
If you haven't read Mari Sandoz and you love Nebraska, start with Old Jewels, the definitive homestead story. You'll love it.